Good morning. I'm Shaun, that's my name. I'm, like Will said, creative director at Royall Advertising. And to me, working with nonprofits is one of the greatest things that we do at the ad agency. We've worked with a lot of different nonprofits over the years. Nestor was talking about shares. Ruth is here. Worked with Kaboom. They have the Playful City initiative. They certify parks and make sure that there's play spaces for kids. And charity cars, they get car donations from people in the community, and then they give them out to to people who need cars. But we're talking about brand strategy today. One of the greatest things that's ever happened was working when we went to Mexico on a mission trip with Shares, and we shot a documentary. It was a short documentary. It was used in fundraising and various other efforts. And I actually have it with me today, so if we have time at the end of the presentation, we can watch a 4-minute version of the documentary. But we're talking about fundraising today, so how does that relate to branding? The important thing about branding is to make you recognizable. So you want to make sure that your brand is well designed, it's high end, and that you use it consistently. Familiarity. The first time I realized the power of branding was when I was on a road trip with my stepdad and my mom. And we were somewhere between Texas and Tennessee, I don't remember exactly where. And we stopped to get dinner. We were near this, not this particular strip mall, I just found a picture of one, but a random strip mall somewhere in that space, and I wanted to try this interesting restaurant that looked interesting to me, but my stepdad said that he didn't want to eat there, and he's not an adventurous eater, and he wanted to eat at a national chain, and that gave him comfort. He equated the branding and the success to quality. And so to him, mostly he wanted to make sure he ate something that he was familiar with, and he was also scared of food poisoning. So, and he figured at a brand restaurant, that's not gonna happen. Familiarity to him, and it's psychologically true, familiarity is similar to trust. So if somebody knows you, they're more likely to trust you. And if you're ever in a situation where two different organizations are in the same space, and one person, that your potential donor knows you but has never heard of the other person, they're probably going to give the donation to you, or at least pay more attention to you. Or if they've never been exposed to either company or either nonprofit, and they have to make a choice between one or the other, they'll probably go with the one that presents itself in a better way. Branding isn't just your logo. So I'm going to talk about a brief history of branding. Branding actually comes from the Old Norse word brandir. That's how I assume Old Norse people said it. So it means fire or to burn. And later on, it was adapted when branding cattle. That's actually where the word branding comes from. In the early 1800s, mass production was more a possibility. People could produce more with the resources that they had. So distribution had to, instead of just being one guy selling to, people in their local area, they could start moving product further out. Their packaging, they would start burning marks into the shipping crates and things so that they could differentiate one box from another when they were moving products around. Over time, the brand started being representative of quality rather than ownership. So you knew that if you saw this particular product in a couple of places, you had a couple of good experiences with it, you knew one particular manufacturer produced a better product than somebody else. And so over time, because you were higher quality, people trusted you, you could command a higher price. As the 1800s continued, by 1969, the first transcontinental railroad was completed, connecting the East Coast all the way to San Francisco. So now national distribution becomes possible. So branding becomes even more important. In 1928, Edward Bernays wrote a book called Propaganda. And in that book, he started connecting that a product could be attached to an idea. And so now branding is no longer necessarily about the product. Branding becomes marketing, and it starts being about ideas. He's actually, Edward Bernays is, this isn't the best feather in his cap, but it's a great example. Before his book, women didn't really smoke as much as men. And it was his idea to have women in movies, women that other women could look up to smoke on screen. And so connecting the idea that this is somebody I should look up to, she's using a product that I didn't use, but now I can use that product and be similar to that person. Fast forward a little bit and you get to the 1980s and you now started seeing marketing brands as lifestyle symbols rather than just the products. I'm going to show an example here of a Coca-Cola ad from the early 80s where the people just drink Coke about twice, and the rest of the time they're just having a great time, dancing, and having tons of fun.
Can't beat it. The feeling you get from a Coca-Cola. Can't beat the real thing. I gotta dance to the heat of the day. Hear the beat, it's coming your way. Stop these feet, and you're gonna say, hey, can't shake it, can't make it. Feeling you get from a Coca-Cola. You can't beat the feeling.
You just can't beat it, so.
I'm glad you're not serving Coke here.
Oh no, we're doing Pepsi today, so nobody's going to be dancing later. So branding is how you present yourself to the world, and sometimes I like to kind of compare if an organization or a business were a person, branding would be how they present themselves. So it's the clothes you're wearing, the way you walk, the way you talk. Don't be fooled, people do judge books by covers. It's the reason they put pretty covers on books. And as an organization, especially as you're trying to get fundraising from people, you want to make sure that the way you present yourself gives them trust and tells them the money that I give you is going to go somewhere that it's going to go where they believe it's going to go. So they want to make sure that you seem trustworthy and you can present yourselves in that way. So branding is, as I said, more than just your logo. It's the colors that you use. It is the images that you put in brochures and advertising. It's the words, the way you write. It can be decorations. If you have an office that people are going to go to, when they get there, they want to see, oh, this is a nice office. They take care of, they work in a nice environment. They're trustworthy. And it's also more than your logo. I'm going to use Chili's as an example of taking branding and creating environments and everything. Chili's, restaurants in general, they really take branding beyond the logo. If you look on the left side, it's an interior of a restaurant. They have molded giant chili pepper floating over people's heads. The logos are all over the walls. They're on the table tents, on the menus. If you go outside, the exterior of the building also looks like the logos. It's got the colors on the exterior. You might even be able to recognize this place if you took the logos off of it. You might still know it's the Chili's, and it's on their gift cards. If I were to take one of you, blindfold you, and take you to any Chili's in the country or in the world, and I took your blindfold off, it wouldn't take you very long to figure out that you were inside a Chili's. You might not know where you are in the world, but you'd at least know you're in a Chili's. So, also talking about branding being beyond the logo, we're going to play a game. It's called Audio Logos, the Game.
Woohoo!
Zoom, zoom.
So the point of that is that even a sound can be part of your branding, and branding goes way beyond just the logo. Less is more, and Albert Einstein wrote, "Any darn fool can make something complex. It takes a genius to make something simple." Mostly I relate this to logo design and the way your logo looks. You don't want to try to do too much with your logo. So we're going to play one more game. Pablo Picasso did a series of sketches, and it's animals done with only one line. So the point here is that with a very simple, one-line drawing, you can come up with an entire concept. It's an animal, and it doesn't take very much to convey a big idea. So moving from a complex idea to a simple, this might seem like art history class, but this is another series of sketches by Pablo Picasso, and what he does is he would take a complex drawing and then pull out the important shapes. So you'll see that as the sketches progress, he starts taking out the pieces that aren't quite as important. So you'll see a face, it's head, legs, tail, other parts, until you really just come down to a few simple shapes, but you still get, a bull. As you see them come across, you see it's 11 different pictures, but they really are of the same animal. The reason I bring that up is that a logo doesn't have to be complicated. We've branded and done logos for a lot of different people, and it takes a while to really get them to understand that something that's fairly simplistic is actually more memorable. I pulled a bunch of different examples of various nonprofit logos to show that, like the World Wildlife Fund is just a panda and a few kind of lesser strokes. The Oxfam logo is just kind of a ribbon and O and the X coming together. The Y is just a Y. You want to brand everything you do, everything you put out there, and you want to make sure that it all works together. So if you're producing, there's a lot of different things that you do that you'll probably have: business cards, brochures, letterhead, your website, if you're wearing a t-shirt, with your brand on it, and all of your advertising. You want to make sure that it all works together so that it makes everything recognizable. But there's other areas that you can also make sure that is branded. If you're on social media and you have a YouTube page, you want to make sure that you have your logo on that page. And if you have the ability to brand that page, which we're actually going to talk to, somebody else is going to talk about YouTube pages later, you want to make sure that that looks like the rest of your brand too. So when somebody comes to your YouTube page, maybe it reminds them of the business card that they got or a brochure that they read, so that it all comes together, and that helps build familiarity where they recognize you from place to place. Newsletters, email signatures. If you can, when you send emails out, put your logo in the email signature. It shows that you're paying attention to details, and it reinforces the brand again because you see the people see the logo again. Or your PowerPoint presentations. If you have a PowerPoint presentation, you'll probably notice that this my PowerPoint presentation looks like the page that you guys used to register for this conference today. The other thing I want to talk about is having standards. We work with brand guides. We've written brand guides for our clients. Some clients come to us with their brand guides. And it's really a set of rules that says, use these fonts, not these fonts. Or usually it says, use these fonts, and then it means don't use any others. Use specific colors, or here's how you would use your logo, and don't use your logo this way. It's really designed so that you want somebody else to produce a brochure for you. You can hand them this guide, and it'll tell them how to design this brochure for you, so you don't necessarily have to explain everything. They should have the rules already set, and it allows you to have other people do things for you. Or if you have a committee, you can just hand the guide to your committee and say, you know, these are our rules. I've also seen them be very short, where they might be 2 pages, or I've seen one of our clients has one, I swear it's 2 pounds of paper. It's gigantic. So follow the rules. You want to make sure that when you're producing materials that are going to be shown out in the world, you follow your standards. And that, again, is to help reinforce familiarity. When somebody comes to one piece, to another piece, to your website, now they've seen your brand 3 times. And 7 times will really, if you can get somebody to see your brand 7 times, they're going to recognize you over and over again. You also want to you need to know that sometimes you're going to have to make exceptions. One of our clients is notorious for buying these tiny little ads, and they'll be 1.5 inches by 2 inches, which is smaller than a business card. So in those cases, we can't put everything that the brand guide requires. So at that point, we have to just follow as many of those rules as we can in order to fit the space. So there's going to be situations where you can't follow all the rules, follow as many of the rules as possible. Sometimes you're going to do something in your marketing materials or in other places, and you'll find that's actually a better way to do things. So your brand is probably going to evolve over time. And when that happens, just bring that in as part of one of your rules, and the exception becomes the rule. So, a few final thoughts. Branding is about trust and building comfort. You want to make sure that you have a great brand, the cover to your book, if you will. And you want to create a donation-friendly conditions where they trust you, and just from the way you present yourself. You want to make sure that you look professional and you look trustworthy. Remember that familiarity is similar to trust, so the more often they can see your brand out there in as many places as possible, the more likely they are to recognize you, remember you, and trust you. Complicated is not memorable. And then brand everything that you create and you put out there, from your email signatures to the TV spots. Everything should be branded. Branding is important, and to illustrate that, there's a couple of very big organizations that just recently hired positions. They're strictly focused on branding. Oxfam recently started a global identity project where they want to make sure every Oxfam affiliate, I'm not sure what the correct term there is, but every Oxfam group around the world is using the same brand standards. So they want to know everybody in the world is going to see Oxfam the same way. And the Gates Foundation just hired a new director of global brand and innovation. I think his name is Tom Scott, and his whole job, it's not really based around fundraising, but around leveraging this great brand that they have. The Gates Foundation is huge, and it's just finding better ways to use their branding to ultimately get more funding. And you guys should do it too. It's important. There's what we were just talking about, a free brand guide template. Just let me know. You can come talk to me later today or email me. All of my contact info, if you can read it, is right. Various ways to reach me. Well, let me see. What time is it? Just to remind you, Will and I actually went with Nestor, who spoke earlier, to Oaxaca, Mexico. And they gave us full access. We were in the operating room. We traveled around town and interviewed people that brought their kids for surgery. So.
my husband, he doesn't pay attention to our daughters. Things changed after our daughter was born. He became rebellious. I talk to him all the time, and I pray to God that he starts acting like a father soon. I tell him that his behavior is unacceptable, and I ask him to change. I am a mother and a woman, and I need to care for my children. That doesn't embarrass me. I do what I can.
He had problems drinking out of the bottle. We had to squeeze the nipple for him. He was able to drink a lot better after the first surgery, but he still had some difficulty due to the missing front teeth. Whether he eats fruit or bread, we have to cut everything up for him. He has some difficulty eating such things.
I felt very sad for my daughter. Well, I felt very sad because my other children were not born like this, and she was. The doctor told me that she would be fine, not to worry. This is fixable. Some time back, they notified us that this program was being organized at this hospital. This is why we're here. We're hopeful that she will be treated. I am hopeful and have faith that you will take good care of her and have her lip repaired. I don't know how I can repay you. I thank God. I pray so much for my daughter. I know that she doesn't feel good about herself. I am a humble person, and these surgeries are very expensive. I thank you so much. You're very special to us.
So, gets me every time. So anyway, videos, very good for fundraising. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, thanks.